Newsflash, fireworks are hot.
Fireworks compositions are exothermic when they combust, meaning they don't consume all of the heat the reaction produces and release a net amount of heat. They can reach temperatures in the thousands of degrees Fahrenheit depending on the composition. Sparklers, aerial shells, cold spark machines.
Cold sparks? Who are you kidding? We're going to dispel that myth later in the video and explain how they are anything but cold. Let's start with a traditional sparkler. How hot do they get?
Sparklers utilize a pyrotechnic composition to heat tiny pieces of metal within that composition to a point that they begin to emit visible light as they fly away from the sparkler. One of the mechanisms behind their light emittance is known as incandescence. Thomas Edison's original light bulbs, invented in 1879, are known as incandescent bulbs because they use this exact phenomenon. Electrical current is used to heat a wire to the point in which it begins to emit visible light.
One of the cool things about incandescence is we can actually estimate the temperature just by the color of the light being emitted.
Using Planck's radiation law, we can visually show this on a color temperature chart with wavelength emitted versus spectral radiance.
For all of us non-nerds out there, that's nerd speak for how much energy is being emitted at each color.
The wavelengths in this region correspond to visible light, which goes from 380 to 780 nanometers. If we overlay a few different temperature plots, you can see how the peak shifts to the left and more into the visible wavelength region as you get hotter and hotter. With our example using incandescent bulbs, the color of light is directly related to the temperature of the wire, which is around 2700 degrees Kelvin, giving incandescent bulbs their consistent amber glow. If you look closely, you can see why incandescent bulbs are so inefficient, since most of the energy they consume is released in the form of heat in the infrared region, with so little being converted to visible light.
Right now, you are emitting black body radiation, but are not hot enough for the wavelength of light to fall within the visible spectrum that you can see with your eyes.
Instead, you are emitting longer wavelengths in the infrared region, which is the part of the spectrum that a thermal camera is sensitive to. Virtually all liquids and solids begin to glow visibly above 977 degrees Fahrenheit. This is known as the Draper point. When you start to see that dim red glow in a hot piece of metal, you know you have exceeded this point.
Let's compare the temperature of fireworks to other everyday items we may be familiar with.
Dry ice sits around negative 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Fireworks range from 2000 to 3000 degrees Fahrenheit depending on the composition and effect, and lightning can reach a staggering 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's even hotter than the surface of the sun.
Now, there is always controversy surrounding sparklers, being that they burn thousands of degrees Fahrenheit, so of course they can burn you, right?
One concept you must understand to answer this is temperature versus heat. Temperature is due to the vibration of particles. The faster they vibrate, the higher their temperature. Heat, on the other hand, is the total thermal energy contained in all of those vibrating particles, so the more particles you have at a given temperature, the more heat that object contains.
One of the reasons I can quickly run my hand through this candle flame without being burned, even though it's at 2000 degrees Fahrenheit, is because the tiny amount of heat takes time to raise the temperature of my skin to the point at which it would become burned.
Think about the sensation you feel standing a few feet away from a candle versus a few feet away from a campfire. They are both around the same temperature, but one produces a lot more heat and can raise the temperature of your skin much faster. So a spark or two likely won't burn you, but grabbing the burning composition or the hot metal wire that the composition was attached to certainly can.
So now let's apply this knowledge to a so-called cold spark machine.
Cold spark machines use powdered metal. The set point used to heat the metal powder for most of these machines is around 550 degrees Celsius. Any given spark has only a tiny amount of heat, so when they make contact for an extremely short period of time, not enough heat is transferred to your skin or other materials to cause a burn, similar to quickly waving your hand through a candle flame.
Don't get me wrong, cold spark machines are a neat technology, but make no mistake, they are not cold, and using the term cold spark is a deceptive and quite frankly dangerous marketing term, being that they can and have caused fires. Can't we just call them spark machines?
They are not cold.
Bottom line is, fireworks are hot and can achieve temperatures in the 2000 to 3000 degree Fahrenheit temperature range and put off enough heat to burn you. So if you are enjoying consumer fireworks at your home with your friends and family, here are some basic safety tips to make your experience a safe and enjoyable one.
This is Mike from Pyro Innovations, and I'll see you on the next one.